that makes it so nice to say, well, no need to get all that excited about everything. Get that concerned and uptight. Just do your job, do it well, and go home and have some fun.
From Channel 7 ABC in Chicago, Joel Daly.
I remember when Joel left for Chicago, we wondered how he would do in the Windy City, and we all knew he loved country music. But up until now, I guess we really didn't know how much. And along about the time Joel left, another TV8 staffer went west and beyond Chicago. He went to California, and his name is Ernie Anderson. Now, to refresh your memories a bit, Ernie is from another planet. And he used to run a show here on Friday night, and kids would send in crazy hats with firecrackers dangling from the brim. They would send posters with such eloquently worded statements as, turn blue, Kniff. Now, Ernie was a staff announcer here, but you remember him best, I'm sure, as Ghoulardi.
Good evening. Ernie Anderson here. We'd like tonight to interview probably one of the most outstanding personalities in the Cleveland area and maybe of our time, Ghoulardi.
Oh.
And I'm sure it's going to be a lot of laughs. Mr. Ghoulardi,
Yeah.
May I call you Ghoulardi?
No, as a matter of fact, you may call me Mr. Ghoulardi or King.
What do you want me to call you?
I just told you, King.
Oh, well, King.
King.
Could you tell us when you first got your start as Ghoulardi?
I first got my start as Ghoulardi when they fired me from Channel 3 and Five wouldn't hire
perhaps
me.
tell us to what you owe the success of Ghoulardi?
I owe the success of Ghoulardi to my outstanding talent.
Mm-hmm. It has been rumored
Yes.
that you are seeing Dorothy.
Oh, now
Is
that's
that
an
true?
outrageous lie. I never could see her. Hey, you
Ernie Anderson's affectionate referrals to Dorothy Fuldheim were only one of his trademarks as Ghoulardi. Most of us recall how he put a suburb called Parma on the map with images of pink flamingos on front lawns and white socks in dresser drawers. A TV8 engineer named Chuck Shadowski prompted those jokes when he himself purchased a home in Parma. Today, Chuck remembers Ernie as something more than a mere movie host.
He was the original hippie. He really was. I mean, he talked about doing your own thing. He did that long before anybody even heard of it. The format of Ghoulardi was for him to come out as his ghoul character and talk about the movies, as what you just saw and you're about to see. He did that for 1 week, and then he went into his own thing. And he told me that he would always say, hey, they gave me a $4 million toy to play with. And that's exactly how he treated it.
Whether in costume as Ghoulardi or in his civvies for special skits, Ernie used his expensive toy as a soapbox to comment on those frustrations we all know so well. There was the time at the supermarket when all the shopping carts were taken and the bag boys had all called in sick. There was the time you spent $30 on flowers to impress a girl on your first date. And there was the barber who would never mind his own business, even when the customer was Cleveland Browns kicker-receiver Gary Collins.
You know, I can help you with your punting. You know what you do wrong, Gar? I'll tell you. Can I tell you? Let me just show you here. When you get that ball, you point that toe, see? Right. Mm-hmm. And that ball will hit right in there like that and right straight up. Now, I notice you've been crooking your foot like that a lot. And then that'll go right off to the side. Remember that Baltimore game? Right. Now, if you'd have listened to me, if I'd have gotten to you before the Baltimore game, you'd have known that if you kick with that, did I show you? Kick with that foot this way, yeah. Right? You can see that. Mm-hmm. Sure. How much you make a year?
Ernie Anderson continually took delight in making stars out of unknowns. Not only sports celebrities, but station employees as well. First, there was TV8 writer-director Tom Conway. You may know him better, of course, as Tim. Back in the early 60s, he and Ernie often took their show on the road to places like Tom's alma mater, Bowling Green State University, where Tom became quite popular as Dag Herford, ace race car driver.
What race are you preparing for now?
Well, we're preparing now for the Indianapolis 500. Mm-hmm. We'll be down there in February racing.
Yeah, but the Memorial Day race is the 500, and that's just
coming right up this
Yeah, well,
weekend.
we don't go down there on Memorial Day. We go in February, see, for the race. You get down there on Memorial Day, it's too crowded. You wouldn't believe it. There's cars going around there over 100 miles an hour. Yeah, you don't have as much competition in February, and gives you a chance to get the bugs out of the car. You know what I mean.